What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We're here with my buddy British Raven. Brian, unfortunately, is under the weather today, so he's not going to be able to join us. And Brooks's flight out of Salisbury this morning got delayed about 6 hours. So he was already at the airport this morning when that happened with his son. So he's been having a hell of a day. So he's going to join us when his flight lands in Charlotte here shortly. Joe, unfortunately, no, Brian did not have a nail appointment today. We do have some reinforcements here. Our buddy British Raven, sometimes they call him Nick Mason, is here to help me out here so I don't have to do a little one-man show. And we always love having British Raven on here. How you doing today, Nick?
You know, I'm good. It's been a long day for me. Woke up early with a very ill dog. She threw up the entire length of my hallway. So all fun and games. So it sounds like my dog and Brian are hand in hand, or paw in paw.
I guess so.
They're both little bitches. There you go, Joe. That's one for you.
I love that. Joe's having a great weekend because his boy Gage Wood yesterday threw one of the greatest games in College World Series history. 19 strikeouts with a no-hitter. Only guy he let on base, he hit him in the foot with a pitch. Otherwise, it would have been a perfect game. So I wanted to shout that out because I know Joe is one of our loyal listeners and a friend of the show. So I wanted to shout that out. Good for you, Joe Radke. Go Arkansas Razorbacks. We're rooting for them as they push towards the College World Series. Push through the College World Series, should I say. But yeah, while we have our buddy British Raven on, we're going to start the show with some football stuff. Nick, you have any stuff you want to talk about off the top of your head, just first and foremost, or do you have any stuff you want to get out of the way before we get into the football chatter?
Before we really go into football chatter, I just wanted to say, if that was a perfect game, Joe would have been inconsolable. My lord, we would not have heard the last of this for at least the next 6.9 weeks.
Nice. I like that. 6.9.
I had to get it in. I had to get it in.
This the British show.
No, Brian got that sick that he turned British. And
yeah, this is actually Brian. Yeah, he's wearing a skin.
Brian Raven.
Yeah, feel better, Brian. I know the feeling, man. You wake up every now and again after these long weekends, and just can kind of hit you. But yeah, anyway, some cool stuff going on in Ravens OTAs. Some wide receiver battles you wanted to talk about. What's going on there?
Absolutely. You know, this wide receiver positional group is probably the most robust it's ever been. We've got Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins. Who would have thought we'd see him in a Ravens uniform? But there's also guys like Tez Walker, Tylan Wallace, LeJohntay Wester. These guys are all going to be fighting for extra time on the field. It's going to be great to see who wins that battle and who gets the more time.
Yeah. So you think the battle is going more between like the guys starting after the DeAndre Hopkins line? So basically Flowers and Bateman, we're going to get a ton of reps. Yeah. I would think Hopkins is going to get a lot of third down and goal line reps. So the guys after that, Wester and Wallace and Tez Walker, do you think those guys are having a battle for that 4 slot?
Absolutely. But I think LeJohntay Wester absolutely has the best opportunity to get on this team based on his return capability.
Okay.
So it's more looking like Tylan Wallace, who recently signed an extension, but also Tez Walker, who is looking quite good also. He's having a good OTA. So it's an exciting battle. Do we see all three get on the team? Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, well, especially with Harbaugh's affinity for special teams players, right? He's going to love LeJohntay Wester if he's got that special ability on the kick returns, punt returns, whatever he can do. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I mean, obviously, take out DeAndre Hopkins, put in Nelson Aguilar last year, but Tez Walker was on the team last year. Tylan Wallace was on the team last year. We saw a little bit of both of them. Yeah. I don't know if there's room for one more guy in the offense, but I mean, maybe there is, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it's interesting for sure. I think I agree with you. I know a lot of people still think that our receiver room is a little bit lackluster in comparison to a lot of the other receiver rooms in the NFL. Obviously, in our own division, we have a receiver room that has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in it. Both of those guys would probably be the number one de facto receiver on the Ravens. But as far as depth, and also if you add in the tight ends as pass catching weapons, Likely and Andrews, and honestly even Kolar had some moments last year where he looked pretty good catching the ball out of the tight end position. So I think it's as deep a receiving core as we've ever had, at least in my viewing experience. Do you agree?
Absolutely, but what isn't really spoken about enough is how good Charlie Kolar actually is down that depth chart in tight end. That guy, by his own admission, broke his arm blocking for Derrick Henry because he didn't get out the way quick enough. But that man can catch a ball also.
Yeah.
We get the best of both worlds with him, you know. Yeah. The two guys are getting covered all game, just throwing Kolar and see what he can do. He'll do it also.
I loved when he scored the touchdown last year. He said they had so much of the defense was keyed on the guys on the outside. They forgot about the fat guy running down the middle of the field.
That touched me right here.
Yeah,
that was one for us chubby guys.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the attitude and accepting the role as the third tight end on the team. Obviously. We don't know what the future of the roster looks like. I think he will be on it for a few years at least, and maybe get more opportunities if this really is Mark Andrews last year on the Ravens. And obviously that's speculation. We don't know, but it seems a scenario that's certainly possible following the season based on the salary cap and how that works. But yeah. You had some Tyler Loop stuff too, right? You want to talk about
Tyler Loop, man? He's getting buzz in training camp right now. Yeah. Now we did speak in the draft review show that I came on to do about his mechanics. They're good, but sometimes erraticism can make its way in, and that's been reported on some of the misses that he's had so far. I'm not surprised. The Ravens have probably located the issue in his mechanics and they're working him through it. And so I personally don't think that any of the misses that have been reported are anything to worry about.
Yeah. I mean, look, all of the things that I've seen saying this kid can bomb it from 70 plus, I'm loving that. Obviously, if your team drafts a kicker, they're going to hype him up as big as possible, especially given the situation the Ravens are in with their previous kicker. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see it. I'm a little scared. I'm a little skeptical, obviously, because look, for the last 10 years or, better part of 10, 15 years, we've had the most accurate kicker in the history of football. And we were, we kind of took it for granted almost. Like at this point now, we're going to start seeing it like, week 2 or 3 comes along and this rookie kicker misses a big kick in the third or fourth quarter. It might be a little frustrating, but all reports are that this guy is going to be pretty good. So yeah, I mean, let's see what he can bring to the table. Obviously it's a huge part of the game, especially for the Ravens, the way we play football. We like to run the ball. We like to play defense. We like lower scoring games in the AFC North historically. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited about him. You have any other Raven stuff you want to talk about other than, or you want to expand on Tyler Loop?
We'll move along from Tyler Loop for now. Yeah. Our friend Laura in the chat has asked us to talk about Lamar Jackson, and I have no issue talking about the best quarterback in the NFL.
There you go. I love that.
We spoke before we came on about his contract, and I'm always a fan of getting him more money. It gets him more money, it cleans up some cap room also. It allows the Ravens to do more. Yeah. And ultimately, if it's a similar deal to what Josh Allen got, fire away.
Yeah.
Let's help this team take that winning next step.
Yeah. And if you're not familiar, there has been a little bit of buzz. It's not super like national mainstream media at this point, but there's been a little bit of buzz about Lamar Jackson potentially wanting to get a new contract similar to the Josh Allen deal. We thought it was a little bizarre this offseason when Josh Allen signed a contract extension after having signed that massive deal just a few years ago. But it looks like that's kind of going to be the trend moving forward. As British Raven just said, it gives the Ravens more flexibility, especially in the short term right now. And then down the road, if they want to restructure, it seems like that's going to be the way the way it's going, and also lock him in for a couple more years with the Ravens. I don't want Lamar to leave in 4 years after this contract's over. You know what I mean? I want him to play his entire career with the Ravens. This is a 2-time MVP. You can argue he should have been a 3-time MVP based on his performance last year. So, yeah, I mean, if he wants more money, more power to him. And if it helps the Ravens in any way, shape, or form, especially with cap flexibility, go nuts, right?
Absolutely. And, we need more cap room if we're going to sort out some of these extra little holes that we have. Maybe Jair Alexander can come in.
Yeah. Maybe you can get a guy like Jair Alexander,
a
big name guy, a good corner, a good boundary corner, which is a guy that we'd like because our boundary corners are quite young.
Yeah. I mean, having a guy like him in the room, it has a knock-on effect, similar to how having Kyle Van Noy in the room is going to be great for Mike Green.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't say enough about what Van Noy's done as a leader, but not only as a leader, as a producer. I mean, the guy has led the team in sacks, over the course of the last 20 plus games the Ravens have played.
Help shape these younger guys and give them the best foundations they can to build in the professional game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Speaking of teams not doing that, doing quite the opposite, we'll go to our team, our rival team, Cincinnati Bengals. They're having all kinds of stuff going on their defensive line, specifically with their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, out of Texas A&M, and also with the NFL's leading sack getter last year, Trey Hendrickson. What do you expect the Bengals to do in this situation? Do you think they'll get both of these deals done eventually before the season starts? Do you think Trey Hendrickson could be on the move? At this point, I kind of feel like they're backed into a corner. They almost have to. They have to sign Hendrickson at this point. What do you expect out of the Bengals?
I mean, they either have to pay him or ship him.
Yeah.
But the Bengals are well known for being a cheap team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do they want to give him the money? No. But do they have to? Does this guy move to somebody that they don't really want him to move to? Because, come on.
Yeah.
Just pay one of the best guys in the league.
Yeah. Well,
They clearly...
This is the problem with how they handled their offseason and their offense, right? So you have roughly $250 million for your salary cap. You got 100 of it going to 3 players: Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. That's 20, 30, and $50 million. That's 100 million out of 250. That means of your 53-man roster, 3 of those guys are getting 100 million. You've only got 150 million for the rest of the 50 guys on the team. And if you pay Trey Hendrickson, even bigger chunk of that is gone, and that's just 4 players. So I guess they can look at it that way. But honestly, I think they kind of backed themselves into the corner with the T. Higgins deal. I know it's probably what Joe Burrow wanted, and I know you want to keep Joe Burrow in Cincinnati and you want to keep him happy. But there's no way you can construct a roster like this that's so top heavy based on the way that the NFL works these days. And now they're backed into this corner. The fans, there's so much pressure from their fan base to sign Trey Hendrickson to this big extension. And if they do, how are they going to fill out the rest of the roster? And I just don't know. I have so many questions. And I think this is a really bad exercise in team building that the Bengals have gone for here. Do you agree with
They've
that?
absolutely hamstrung themselves. Absolutely, 100%. But look at how the Ravens have done it. I mean, thank God we don't have to pay Zay yet, but that's coming.
Yeah.
Look at the Rashad Bateman deal.
Mm-hmm.
That deal is incredible for a WR2. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And when you give a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 money, you're setting yourself up for disaster.
Yeah. Would you rather have Rashad Bateman on the deal he's on for what, $7 to $10 million a year, or would you rather have T. Higgins for 25 a year? You know what I mean? Look, I know T. Higgins is a better player. He is 100% a better player than Rashad Bateman, but we're talking about roster building here. I mean, I'm probably taking the guy that's not that far off for $15 million less dollars. Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't really know what they're going to do. Sorry, go ahead.
The Bengals built their offense like they were doing those weird little transfers on Madden for the franchise mode.
Yeah.
And then they realized 3 players in, damn, this is real life.
Yeah, shit. What's our cap expectancy for next year? Minus 50 million.
Yeah. It's like, how could this happen?
Yeah. Trust me, I've played a lot of Madden in my life, and I've run a lot of those teams, and I've run into that issue plenty of times. And that's when you hit the salary cap off button on Madden, but you can't do that in real life in the NFL. Nick Vogt says Hendrickson is overrated. Honestly, I don't know if I agree with you there. I don't know if I disagree with you. I don't know. I definitely don't think he's the best edge rusher in the league. I know he had the most sacks last year. Sacks are not, the end all be all for a pass rusher. It's pressures. It's how much the defense is going to move over to you as an edge rusher. I definitely don't think he's in that upper. I mean, he's definitely a better pass rusher in the league. I don't think he's up there with the TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, even Nick Bosa when healthy. Those kind of guys, and I'm probably forgetting a couple other guys as well. But yeah, I think he's got to be up there in at least the next tier, specifically because I know sacks aren't the end all be all, but that defense was miserably bad last year, and he was the only good player on it, and he still was able to produce. He's like 20% better than Judon's best year. Yeah, but Judon's best year was really good. Judon had a 3 or 4 year stretch where he was a very feared pass rusher in this league. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you to a certain extent. Yeah, should he be the highest paid pass rusher in the league? No, but this is kind of the trend, though, right? He'll get the bag, and then the next guy will get the bag, and then the next guy will get the bag. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that's kind of where the NFL is going. Goldberg talk. Do you want to do some Goldberg talk? We did a little bit right before the pod. Yeah, we'll talk some Goldberg. Hell yeah. What the hell is Goldberg doing in a wrestling ring in 2025? Does it make sense? Does it matter? What's happening?
Now, with Goldberg coming back, I mean, he's not really coming back per se. It's a retirement match.
I feel like he's had several retirement matches over the course of the last 10 years, right?
Welcome to professional wrestling, and just take one look at Ric Flair.
Yeah, that's
Terry
true.
Funk even.
Mick
Terry
Foley.
Funk had about 10.
Yeah, Mick Foley too, right?
Yeah. I mean, every Mick Foley match was that ridiculous that it could have been a retirement match.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So
it could have been Hell in a Cell in 97 or whenever that was.
Yeah. Now, Goldberg changing the main roster title picture for a retirement match is just hilariously wrong.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the momentum that Jey Uso got, I mean, all the talk can be had about him not being the best in the ring on his own. But what he did is he made sales.
Yeah, he connected with the fans, which is the ultimate goal, right?
Absolutely. That's everything about being a face in professional wrestling. Is having that crowd connection, and that's what he had. And to change the title just to give Goldberg's retirement send-off a little bit more pizzazz, I don't agree with that.
Also, doesn't it kind of hamstring you as a booker? And we're talking hamstring all the time here today, but doesn't it kind of put you in a corner as a booker? Because 99% of the crowd knows Gunther's going over, right? If Goldberg, if this is a retirement match, the one thing about wrestling that I know, there's plenty of things about wrestling that I know, but one thing I know for sure is that you go out on your back in wrestling. You're gonna be looking at the lights. The ref's gonna count 1, 2, 3. You're gonna lose that match. So we're booking this match as a title match that basically Goldberg has 0% chance to win, and he's a bad in-ring performer. He's 50 some years old. He hasn't been in the ring in several years, and as you mentioned before the pod went on, he almost killed the Undertaker the last time he was in the ring.
Yeah,
it just kind of feels stupid, and nostalgia driven. But I mean, good for Goldberg for getting a send off, but. He could have done it 10 years ago, in my opinion. I
mean, thankfully, they're not doing with Goldberg what they're doing with John Cena.
Well, you don't like the John Cena stuff?
No, hate
it. Not at all? You didn't like the decision to turn him heel, or the way it's been portrayed?
Now, I love the decision to turn John Cena heel. We've been waiting for that for ages. What I don't like is having the title on him.
Okay.
They can do all of this without him needing a title. It's John Cena at the end of the day.
Yeah.
This guy is everybody's childhood.
Do you think at some point in the middle of this heel run that he'll drop the strap and the last 6 months will just be kind of him, finishing it off without it? Because you're right. I think like you use championships to elevate superstars, not superstars to elevate championships in most cases. And obviously John Cena sells himself. He does not need the championship. You could give it to a younger guy and maybe give him more of a push, right? So do you think that'll happen at some point in this run, or do you think he's going to carry it and then lose in his last match to whoever the heir apparent they're going to pick? I assume it'll be Roman Reigns or Cody or even CM Punk. I don't know who they're going to pick for his maybe Kurt Angle for his first and last match.
See, I have a little theory on this one. Now, it's not founded by any fact, but it's just more like this is what my gut feels. Maybe they're going back to the WWE Championship and they're just going to push this championship by the wayside, the Universal Championship.
Oh.
They've gone with the World Heavyweight Championship with the Raw. Now with SmackDown, WWE, that's how it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going back that way?
It's possible. Look, several times throughout my childhood watching wrestling, they had one title or two titles. They brought in the big gold belt when they bought ECW, and they had a second title. The World Heavyweight title is what they called it back in the day. And then they got rid of it for a little while. Then they tried the ECW title. They got rid of that. They tried the Universal title. That's still going right now. They could get rid of that. I don't really know what the answer is there, but I think it's constantly changing and evolving as wrestling does. If it went away for a little while, I wouldn't rule it out coming back in a few years. But I think they kind of do that stuff just to keep stuff fresh, right? And I think that's smart. So, yeah, I mean, could it happen? I 100%. I don't watch as closely as you do anymore, obviously, but I definitely watched for a really long time. And I'm, sort of I would say a wrestling historian to a certain extent, at least back to the 90s. Not back to Harley Race. I'm not going that far.
That's a hell of an era in professional wrestling.
Yeah. Brooks says, "Sup, dudes? What's up, Brooks? Brooks is having some travel fun today. Once again, like I said, he new to the show. Yeah, Nick. He's a new follower, one of our new followers. He's he's been having a hell of a day. He got to the airport this morning around 4:00. Didn't take off from Salisbury until just less than an hour ago, I believe. So he's had a hell of a day, just sitting in the airport with his 3-year-old. And by the way, one of the smallest airports in the world, so not exactly a lot of room or a lot to do. So yeah, it's been a tough day for Brooks. He's going to hop on, like I said, when he lands in Charlotte. At least briefly, he's going to do what he can. But yeah. Any other wrestling stuff you want to hit on before we get to the O's? I feel like we've gone a little bit too far in the show without talking Orioles after their
I think it might be time to swiftly move on to the Orioles, I believe.
Fair enough, yeah. Good for you, Goldberg. I loved you when I was a kid, but come on, man. Like,
please don't.
Yeah, please don't kill Gunther.
Yeah.
Gunther. Yeah, so Orioles complete a 3-game sweep of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim this weekend in Baltimore before unfortunately losing a ugly game last night to Tampa. Did not like what I saw out of the Orioles offense last night. Eflin didn't pitch his greatest game, obviously, but it just seemed like a little bit of a lackluster performance after what seemed like a really momentum driven weekend for the Orioles. What did you see? What have you seen specifically recently out of the Orioles? And if you have any notes from this weekend or whatever that you want to talk about, go ahead.
You know what? Me personally, I'm going to take blame for this loss.
Yeah, it's your fault.
This is my fault. And I'm going to hold my hands up right now and say that I bet on the Orioles yesterday.
So did I.
I bet on Zach Eflin pitching a great game.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
You know what else I bet on yesterday? Ohtani over 1.5 strikeouts, not knowing he was going to pitch literally 1 inning. Which was unfortunate. But yeah, it was an ugly way to start the series against Tampa. We continue to struggle in these minor league parks, as you said, on off air right before we got on the podcast.
Yeah.
What is going on with this? Like we stunk in Sacramento against the A's. We stink last night. Hopefully, the rest of the series goes a little differently against Tampa.
Yeah, losing a series 2-1 to the AAA Athletics and currently being 1-0 down to the Rays. It's just like, do we not like change? Like, are we expecting a big field every time?
I mean, I don't know.
Like, come on, if the opportunity is there, swing your bat.
Brooks says landing, hopefully. Let's see. Hopefully they get the wheels down in Charlotte for you, dude.
I'm not going to make a dark joke because that isn't what this show's about.
Yeah,
I
please
hope
don't
you
do
land
that.
perfectly safely.
Please don't do that. Yeah, so 30 and 41. We were talking about after the Orioles swept the Angels. We were talking the other night, me and Brooks at least. Look, only 6 games out of the wild card at this point. You know, we got some life. We got momentum. Adley's getting hot. Gunnar looks like he's starting to get hot. Jackson's been playing well all season. Westberg, since he came back from injury, has been excellent. Obviously, O'Hearn, leading vote getter for DH in the American League at this point. So a lot of momentum throughout the lineup. Also, returning Gary Sanchez, homers in his first 2 games back, including a grand slam that blew that game open. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of positive momentum. I was really excited about the game last night. Like you, I looked at the DraftKings and I was like, oh look, Eflin's pitching. We got momentum.
Yeah.
Let's do this. And yeah, it was never good from the very get-go. It was never going to win. Nick Vogt says Gary Sanchez sucks. We've had a conversation with Nick Vogt about Gary Sanchez. He says he's going to continue to hate on him while he's playing well because he thinks that's why he's playing well. And I said, I think that's a good reason. So, yeah, we're going to do that. And maybe me and British Raven will bet on the Tampa Bay Devil Rays tonight so we can get a win back in the Orioles. We got to, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, with Gary Sanchez, we released the Kraken, and unfortunately the Kraken ran away. we got the grand slam out of him, and then all the bats just fell off. So hopefully we find where the Kraken is and put him back in the cage.
Yeah.
For tonight.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a 1-game sample, so obviously, you know, it's just a frustrating game last night. And credit to their pitching staff who pitched a good game. And you're not going to win them all. You're going to have games like this. It's a 162 game season. Obviously, you're not going to win all of them, but it just feels like every now and then this team this year, and for the better part of the first 2 months of this year, the team just kind of felt like they had no energy on the bench, on the field. And it seemed like it was kind of coming back. And then last night kind of felt like 2 months ago again. So it just felt like a step backwards. I don't know. Hopefully it's just a half step backwards and, it's just 1 game and we'll get it behind us kind of thing. But we don't really have the opportunity to be giving games away at this point, being 11 games under 500. Nearing the halfway point of the season. So it gets a little frustrating.
It does, but it's important to remember that this is a rebuilding Orioles team for this year. We started out sucking. We lost the manager as a result. We now have to win 60% of our games. 40% are going to be games like what we saw last night. Mm-hmm. That's the level-headed approach to look at it with. Mm-hmm. Is you're going to lose a game. Now, we'd expect to lose the punt lineup game. But
the punt lineup was interesting. There was a lot of chatter in my baseball group chats about what the fuck are we doing kind of stuff. Sorry for my language there, British Raven. But yeah, I mean, we ended up winning that game, right? And then last night's lineup comes out. It's as beautiful as you could ever build a lineup. And, we come out there and throw a dud on the board against Tampa in George Steinbrenner Field down there in Florida.
Right. But one thing about last night, we spoke about it briefly before the show, and it was a stat that Sarah Langs posted on Twitter. Sarah Langs reported that Adley Rutschman's home run against the Rays had a 49-degree launch angle, which is the highest on any Orioles home run under the StatCast since 2015. And also, interestingly, is also the 4th highest on a non-inside-the-park homer in MLB in the same time period.
I love it.
So that boy sent that ball that way.
That's a towering fly ball. We like those. And honestly, in that old Tampa stadium, that thing would have been caught up in the Raptors and it would have just been a non-factor. That's an out, right?
Yep, we just wait for another hurricane or tornado to come right back through there, and if it falls down, we'll just record it as a double.
Oh, man. They were supposed to build a new stadium, but there's all kinds of stuff going on in Florida. Apparently, that's not going to happen. And also, nobody watches the team. So it's tough for them to convince the city to, spend their tax dollars on a stadium. And I totally get that. But yeah, anyway, a little bit of a frustrating one for the Orioles last night after a really nice weekend against the Angels. It was really cool watching Mike Trout, obviously living on the East Coast. He plays most of his games on the West Coast. He has his whole career. And he's not the player that he used to be. all the time anymore. He's hurt a lot. But that home run he hit off the foul pole in the first inning the other night on that inside fastball just reminds you how good and how talented that guy is. Being able to have those hands quick enough to reach that inside fastball and just turn and burn on that. I just, it's just every now and then you just watch him and you're in awe and you're like, oh my God, this is the guy. Also couldn't believe that he has like almost 400 homers. And it seems like he hasn't played a baseball game in the last 5 years. And the guy's only like 33 years old. So it just tells you what a torrid pace he was on at the beginning of his career. And we're really hoping he can get back for the sake of baseball and for the sake of the Angels, honestly, who have been a struggling franchise since, the mid 2000s when they won the World Series. We're old. Yeah, I know, Nick. You don't have to remind me every day.
My back felt that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, at least you're not going to have to take a jackhammer from Goldberg. Your back would definitely feel that.
Would it make it worse or would it make it better? Because I would have other things to worry about.
Depends on how you land, I guess, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably have a broken neck, but my back wouldn't hurt so much.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't feel it. So, yeah.
Something that happened since the last time we podcasted that I thought was really crazy when I saw it because I thought it was fake. Was a divisional trade, not in division trade, but a trade in our division. Rafael Devers gets traded by the Red Sox to the San Francisco Giants for a bevy of prospects, including Jordan Hicks and Kyle Harrison. Jordan Hicks, a flamethrower that came up as a reliever, had a lot of success as a reliever. They've been trying to turn him into a starter in San Francisco. It's not working out. I think he's got like a 7 ERA, something like that this year. It's not been going all that great for him. My first reaction to this was, this is fake. And then Passan tweeted it. And of course, this is just like, now somebody in the NFL reporting something, and then it's not real until Schefter reports it. This is how I feel. It's not real until Passan reports it, and Passan reported it, and I was just like, there's no fucking way. They just traded him after they sweep the Yankees in a 3-game set over the weekend. It's just crazy. What did you think? What did you think about this trade? Obviously, you have a little.
So I think you may have just disconnected yourself, but I'll say that it's a twofold thing. I think the Red Sox needed to get him out of the team because I'm not going to drop the big C word that people tend to call people that are incredibly toxic to a team, but his personality wasn't a great fit for the Red Sox. So first and foremost, that's my thought on that matter. But I've also seen some issues maybe in the Red Sox fan base questioning our Fenway Sports Group just focusing on Liverpool. And the answer is no. Okay. Liverpool Football Club are bound by very strict PSR rules, which means you can only spend what you earn.
Okay.
So Liverpool performed extremely well in the Champions League last year, and they also won the Premier League. And they haven't spent much in either of the 2 previous transfer windows. So all the money that they're spending, including what's reported, the 150 million euros on Germany attacking midfielder Florian Wirtz, is all money Liverpool have earned. Nothing to do with that. You just suck.
Look,
we suck also, so welcome to the party.
Yeah. This goes back to the Mookie Betts trade a couple of years ago when they dumped that contract. This is a guy that's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, a guy that's brought you a World Series, a guy that's won an MVP for your team. He's in, his year 24, 25, 26, something like that season, and you trade him for, I don't want to say a bag of peanuts. Obviously, they traded him for guys at that point were, very highly touted prospects. None of them really ended up working out. Verdugo had a couple of decent seasons for them. Jeter Downs never made it. And the other guys they traded for, didn't end up making it either, at least at no level close to what Mookie Betts has done, especially now going to LA, the positional versatility that he offers, and just the consistency with the bat. And the amount of power that he's able to muster at just like 5'8", 5'9" as a smaller guy, it's just unbelievable. He's truly a one of one in the game, just based on his versatility and his size, and the way he plays. And it's just, I'm sure Red Sox fans were just disgusted, and they were reminded of that when they traded Devers this weekend. Look, if you look at Devers' numbers, the guy's got over a 900 OPS for the last 8 years of his career. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. He's pushing up to 250 homers, and the guy's only 28 years old. We're looking at the prime of one of the better hitters, more consistent hitters in the game. I think if you're a Red Sox fan, you got to be like, what the fuck is going on? Obviously, the front office didn't love a lot of the comments. Honestly, I didn't love a lot of the comments that Rafael Devers was putting out before the season. But, it's the kind of thing you should probably deal with or figure out if you're the Red Sox, because this guy is really, really good. So it's tough. It's got to be tough for Red Sox fans. I mean, I don't like the Red Sox. I'm an Oriole fan, obviously, so I'm not a huge Red Sox fan. So I don't, I have no, I'm glad he's out of the division, quite frankly. But yeah, it's got to just be a dagger for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise, MLB stuff. I love seeing Ohtani get back on the mound last night, albeit just one inning. Like I said, he gave up 2 hits and a run, facing one of the best lineups in the league. I mean, he gave up a hit to Tatis. He gave up a hit to Luis Arias. Those are 2 of the best, base hit. Yeah. Luis Arias is one of the best base hit guys. Fernando Tatis, just straight up one of the most talented hitters in the league. So yeah, it's going to be, obviously a tough comeback for him, but 96, 97, hit 100 once. And by the way, this is the reigning MVP of the league as a hitter. Pretty crazy what Ohtani is trying to do right now after not having pitched for 2 years. Hitting 100 in an MLB game is just absurd. Just shows you what kind of an athletic freak the guy is.
He's an unreal talent, and honestly, it's great to be seeing him doing what he does best.
Yeah.
Maybe the pitching side will come. It's hard enough to do one thing well in the leagues, let alone do 2 things.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe in a month's time we relook at it and it's a different story.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Baseball moves very quickly. It's America's favorite pastime.
It is the best, because look, something like this with the Orioles, that everyone thought the Orioles were going to be one of the better teams in the American League, and we're just not very good this year so far. And then, you had teams a couple of years ago, like the Diamondbacks, who were dead on arrival at the All-Star break. They were 10 games below 500. They ended up making it to the World Series. They made a run. It can happen like that. And there's no rhyme or reason to it sometimes. It's just, it's the
way the cookie crumbles, right?
Exactly. Other baseball stuff, it looks like LSU is going to beat UCLA. They were up 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th. So UCLA, Arkansas, 6 p.m. local. Would that be tonight, Joe, or is that tomorrow? Do they make UCLA play a doubleheader? I'm not sure. But yeah, if LSU holds on to that victory, it will be UCLA, Arkansas, which would be cool. We are obviously rooting for Arkansas, for a friend of the program, Joe Radke. Other than that, I think that's good on baseball stuff, unless Brooks has stuff when he comes in. I don't know if you watch basketball at all. Game 5 of the NBA Finals was last night. The Thunder had another great game from one of their star players, Jalen Williams, and they take the win, and Jalen Williams takes a 40-point game over in the finals. They win by 11, and they take over the series 3-2. Indiana was kind of a long shot coming into this. I believe the Thunder, before the series, were minus 700 favorites. So obviously everyone expected the Thunder to win this. They have the more deep roster, and they had the better regular season, quite frankly. But good for Indiana for making it a series. And, we're going back to Indiana for Game 6. They can force a Game 7. And the same thing's going on in hockey right now. Edmonton's going to try to do their damnedest to get it to a Game 7. They're down 3-2. They're going to be playing Florida tonight. Florida, so far this series, has looked like the better team, the more complete team. But anything can happen. It's hockey, and the best player in the world on ice is on the Edmonton Oilers, and that's Connor McDavid. Do you watch either basketball or hockey? Do you pay attention to it at all?
I'm not a big basketball fan, and equally, I'm not a massive hockey fan, but I love hearing about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There you go. Perfect. I appreciate that. But that's just your quick NBA NHL update. I know you're not a PGA Tour guy, but a golf guy really either. But I would say, one of the bigger tournaments of the year, obviously the U.S. Open happened over the course of this past weekend. And the star of the show was really the golf course. It wasn't, the top guys didn't really seem like they were in the mix this week. Rory kind of backed his way into a top 20 after having a good Sunday. Rahm did the same thing. Scotty Scheffler was kind of there the whole weekend, but he never really was in contention. But like I said, the star of the show, the reason people were tuning in this weekend was because of the golf course, and that's Oakmont Country Club outside of Pittsburgh. It showed up, it showed out. Only one guy finished under par, and he did it in dramatic fashion at the end with a 65-foot putt to drain it for 2 straight birdies at the end. JJ Spawn, super soft-spoken guy, seems like a super nice guy. Lost in the playoff at the Players to Rory earlier this year in kind of devastating fashion, and came out and was able to hold on in the U.S. Open this week. Really excited for him. And really excited for the tournament. Like I said, even though the stars weren't out, it seemed like the course got enough of the juice to get people watching. Did you watch any of it? Did you pay attention to it at all?
You know what? It's gonna sound like a broken record, but no. I'm really not a golf guy.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of baseball recently, which is probably why I'm not much of a enjoying of the other sports.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's fair. We'll talk about that more in depth when Brian and Brooks are back on the show. Obviously, they watch a little bit more golf, but it was a cool weekend. And if you follow Dusty's bets, a couple of them did pretty well. Most of my guys, except with the exception of Tommy Fleetwood, pretty much all of my guys at least made the cut. The guys that I had top 20s and top 10s on. Sam Burns was probably my best hit of the week. I had him for top 10 and top 20, and he was in the lead for most of the weekend. Harris English didn't perform well over the course of the weekend, had a decent first couple days, but then kind of fell off. Schauffele finished inside the top 15 for now the 9th straight year in the U.S. Open, which is unreal, just consistency out of that guy. So awesome for him. But, Dusty's bets did pretty decent. None of my winners bet really had a chance. The worst one was Shane Lowry. He just had a brutal week. After having really good form coming in, he performed well in this tournament 10 years ago when it was there. Just had a shit week, and that golf course can do that to you. So we won't linger anymore on golf. Obviously, British Raven, not the biggest golf guy.
Big guy, but not a big golf guy. I mean, yeah. The last time I actually watched golf was Tiger Woods.
Well, there you go. Well, look, Tiger Woods brought a lot of eyes to golf that wouldn't have been there otherwise. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? It could be baseball, football. It doesn't matter. We can just bullshit for a little while Brooks gets set up here in the airport. Like I said, we're only going to keep it to probably about an hour today, so only about 15 minutes left anyway. So any other notes or anything you've taken note of over the course of the past few weeks that you want to talk about? It doesn't have to be sports.
Absolutely. I've been reading the chat as we've been going on, and just a little poke fun at Subway ran out of provolone for Joe's steak sub. Can we just talk about how much of a national tragedy that is? International tragedy, even. To run out of provolone on a steak sub?
There's so many other cheeses, man. You're going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Provolone.
I love provolone, but just get some cheddar or some pepper jack or some American, and it's just one day, man. You're gonna be fine.
I recently introduced myself to provolone.
Yeah, that's a new
this
thing
is gonna sound like a really dull conversation. But last time I had the mild provolone, but this time I'm going for the smoky one when I make cheesesteaks tonight.
Oh my god. You
I
got
I am learning new things.
Oh man.
But I actually get my provolone from Italy.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I get mine from Food Lion. Maybe to put bacon on it too. I like that. I wouldn't say Subway is the place I would go for a cheesesteak at this point.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's just so many good sub shops around in America at this point. I don't know what's the sub situation in England.
I mean, we have Subway, but if you want a good sub, you're making it yourself.
Yeah.
If you find a decent sub place that will do a cheesesteak, you're probably looking 15, 20 pounds. So
yeah.
It's just not worth it. You can get all the ingredients, make it yourself, and it will taste pretty authentic. So.
Very easy thing to make at home. Yeah. Just get some ribeye, cut it thin, put it in a hot pan, cook up some onions, throw some cheese on it, call it a day, man. That's what I do.
Put it in the sub roll and throw it as far down your throat as you can. Don't take that out of context.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, any other stuff you want to talk about? We haven't talked since Aaron Rodgers signed with the Steelers. Do you have any thoughts on that? Also, the Steelers extended former Raven Deshaun Elliott, hook 'em horns, to a 2-year deal. Good for Deshaun Elliott. We always like to see the former Ravens guys getting paid. Also, there's some Antonio Brown sought for attempted murder stuff going on. A lot of weird stuff going on in the NFL. Yeah. What was your take first on the Aaron Rodgers thing?
So, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a special kind of on fire right now, aren't they? It's not a good on fire. They are actually bad on fire right now.
Like a dumpster fire.
Yeah. I would say it's probably even worse than a dumpster fire. I'd say it's an uncontrollable wildfire.
Is it fair to say that every team in the AFC North that's not Baltimore is in some kind of disarray right now, right? The Bengals are in this contract hell. Obviously, the Browns are in constant hell because Deshaun Watson is still on their team. And the Steelers have no idea what's going to go on at the quarterback position this year.
You know what? The Baltimore Ravens have taken the high road. They've got all of this sorted out. And I tell you what, the view is incredible from up here.
I love it too. I mean, are you afraid of Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers, the potential of Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf? Or did you see enough over the course of last season that tells you Aaron Rodgers is probably not the Aaron Rodgers of old?
I mean, if it was 4 or 5 years ago, would I be scared? Maybe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens' defense is going to be so good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he gets back to a shadow of himself, I don't see him causing a problem, much like Russell Wilson didn't last year.
Yeah.
Granted, he threw up a couple of moon balls, and that troubled us a little, but we won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I wouldn't be worried about the Steelers either way. Do I think they could take one of the 2 games? For sure. It's a divisional game. They're always going to be tough. And Mike Tomlin's a great coach, and you know, they can steal games. Do I think we are 100% the better roster? If we played 10-game series, I think we would win 8 or 9 out of the 10 against the Steelers. Yeah, 100%. And that's even if Aaron Rodgers, like you said, if he gets back to 80-90% of the last MVP season he had, if he's pretty good, let's say, I'm still not that worried about him because I just don't think the roster overall is that great. I think their defense is decent. Obviously, Mike Tomlin will have them playing hard because they're well coached, but I'm just not all that afraid of their weapons at this point. And I like Metcalf as a player. I don't like that you're paying a guy to be your number 1 receiver who has a history of getting hurt a lot. For as big and strong as the guy is, he's not the most durable guy on the planet. And that's, you know, you've seen that in Seattle over the course of the last few years. When he's on the field, though, the offense looks different, and it did in Seattle for sure, because their offense was 100% different and way, way better when DK was on the field in Seattle. So, you know, I'm interested to see what the Steelers look like in, you know, the first few weeks of the year. I'm not very bullish on them as a team, though. I don't think they're going to be very good. Yeah, I mean, I don't really I don't really want to talk about the Antonio Brown stuff because it's at this point it's all kind of hearsay, whatever.
Yeah.
That guy's just been, you know, since he burned himself in that hot air balloon in Las Vegas or Oakland or wherever the hell he was, that guy's just been a complete disaster of a human being. So
yeah, he's been on a CTE bender ever since he finished up in the league. So
yeah,
it's not a shock if that does prove to be true. But it's a horrible situation regardless. So we just hope that cooler heads can prevail in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? I'm kind of running out of ideas here. You have any shows or anything like that you've been watching that you want to recommend?
You know what? I've recently been on an Elsbeth bender.
What is that?
Elsbeth Tassioni is a very eccentric investigator. It's an American TV show, so I'm surprised.
Comedy drama series.
It's an incredible show. It's just finished its second season. So
okay, it's comedy drama. It's like she's the detective, and it's like, is it like Brooklyn Nine-Nine humor, or is it like what is it similar? How can you describe it?
It's a very special taste that you have to enjoy it. Okay. I wouldn't quite say it's Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I also wouldn't say it's very serious.
Okay.
It's a great TV show, which, to be fair, if you ever need something to watch, give it a watch.
Oh, it's a spin-off of The Good Wife.
Yeah.
Huh. I've heard of that. Police procedural comedy drama. Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out. Hell yeah.
Also in the watch list, I've also been told that I need to watch The Wire, which is incredibly true. It's deep in the watch list. There is so much on that watch list right now.
Dude, I mean, look, I'm from Baltimore, so obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased here, but I think if you want to see one of the greatest television shows ever made, you got to watch The Wire. It is a little dated at this point, the cell phones are flip phones,
Well, I mean, I recently just got through watching The Sopranos also.
Oh, really? For the first time?
Yeah, the first time watch through.
Who's your favorite character, and why is it Uncle Junior?
It has to be Junior, doesn't it? It has to be.
Yeah, I love The Sopranos too. I watched that for the first time in college, and I've watched it bits and pieces of it since. Actually, one of my best friends, Mitch, has watched that show like 100 times. He's seen it so many times. Yeah. It's just like a comfort show almost,
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of people like that. But yeah, the same thing with The Wire. I haven't seen that since college either. I kind of want to watch that again. The only other stuff I've watched recently was I watched Andor when that was on. That was excellent. I don't know if you're a Star Wars guy, but if you are, watch Andor. That was fucking amazing. And then what else? The Last of Us season 2. Didn't love season 2 as much as I like season 1, but I played the video game, so I kind of knew where it was going. Obviously the acting and the set pieces are still like jaw dropping and amazing to watch, but the storyline took a couple turns that I wasn't super interested in. I think we're probably just going to wrap it up, guys. We're kind of running on fumes here. We don't have much other content to go over. Slow week, obviously, in the NFL. Not much going on in June in the NFL other than the Bengals stuff and the Steelers stuff, which we hit on. Orioles continue to plow through the season. Hopefully they can keep this momentum up and try to get close to 500 before the All-Star break. I would think that's hopefully their goal. Being 11 games under right now, I think, try to win 7 out of 10, win 6 out of 10, keep on pinching your way up until you get closer to 500. And then you really have a chance to try to make a run. And congratulations to JJ Spawn for winning the U.S. Open. It was an awesome tournament. Like I said, Oakmont showed up and showed out. The course was really the star of the show, which was awesome. Guys, I know today obviously was a little bit of a different pod, but we want to thank our buddy British Raven, Nick Mason, for coming in and helping when it was looking like he wasn't going to be able to, or we weren't going to be able to do the show today for a little while. And he stepped up and stepped in for us, and we really appreciate that. If you have any other stuff you want to plug, obviously go check out British Raven on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Do you have Instagram, or are you just Twitter?
I'm on Instagram, but I'm still trying to figure out how to best work that.
Okay.
I've got a whole card collection that's probably going to end up on there at one point. So yeah.
What kind of cards?
Wrestling, football, baseball, you name it.
Hell yeah.
Even TV now. I got one from Mike Henry the other day, which is incredible. The voice of Cleveland Brown.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting those on.
Joe, Thursday we'll do more College World Series talk. Call to the bullpen for Nick. Yeah, Thursday we'll talk a little bit more baseball, College World Series stuff. Hopefully Arkansas will still be kicking at that point. And we'll talk a little bit more about the golf tournament, what we expect about the Travelers Championship in Connecticut this weekend, more fallout from the U.S. Open last week, what it means for the stars of the game going forward, that kind of stuff we will talk about. We're going to do our snake draft on Thursday this week, which is a little different. And then, but we'll be back, like I said, on Thursday with a more normal show. Actually, right before we finish up here, we got a walking guy here. What's up, Brooksy? How's your day been?
Terrible.
You look like you've been sat in the airport most of the day.
Fucking terrible. And I hate American Airlines.
I'll make a note of that.
Yeah. What's the play right now? Are you going to be stuck in Charlotte for a little while, or what's going on?
I'm here till about 2:30.
Oh,
So
okay, that's
in
not
case
too
you guys
bad.
don't know, let me give you a recap of my day. Been up since 2:30. I got to call into the show for a second, buddy. Got to the airport to find out that our plane is having a maintenance issue, so they had to call one in from Philly. So we all changed our flights because it was delayed like 4 hours, and got back to the airport after that. Got on the plane, which was delayed another hour again. As soon as we get on the plane, they're like, "Oh, something wrong with this plane. We gotta get off and should get another plane." And then there's been a plane sitting there the entire time. They decided to board us on a plane that had just landed and like get us right on there as soon as people got off the plane. And I'm like, there's been a perfectly good plane sitting there for over an hour that you guys could have had us on, which is the plane they put us on. So, and then I had no internet. Well, we're going, bud. And then we had zero internet on that flight here. And so, yeah, my life is awesome. I was supposed to land at 11 o'clock today back in Indy. Not going to land until after 4 now.
Yeah.
But could have been way worse. But
Yeah.
not a fun start to the day with a 3-year-old.
Yeah. I'm sure sitting in the airport, especially in that airport with nothing to do, was not a lot of fun.
Yeah, it wasn't my ideal situation.
Yeah. We were just wrapping up the show though, but you can get on to your airport happenings and tell Banks I love him. And we're going to wrap up the show, and we'll see you hopefully on Thursday. We'll talk about the U.S. Open, some golf, some Orioles stuff, and what have you. But anyway, Brooks, have a great day. We love you. Thanks for joining the show.
See you, boys.
See you, buddy.
Please.
Once again, thank you to British Raven. Shout out Joe Racky, Laura, Nick, all the people who watch and support our show. We love you guys. And keep tuning in every Tuesday and Thursday. Once again, we came a little late today. We had some hiccups. Brian's sick. Brooks is having travel issues, obviously. But we got our buddy British Raven on here. We talk some wrestling. We talk some football and some other stuff. And anyway, we will see you on Thursday. Outros are awkward.
Are they?
Yeah.
We'll see.
See you.